obviously I'm going for monkey fish.
Do I have a choice?
No. I stole it.
Okay. Oh, pendulous breast herself.
I had to chase you through a cave. I know you do outside.
And we're going to talk about how wrong you are after this.
Oh, hello, everyone.
Hi, everybody.
I'm Jeni, and welcome to Monsters Lounge.
Tressa. I'm sorry, I got real excited. I want to say my name.
I know you did. I switched it up a little bit.
You did. I was confused.
Air guns, air guns.
Nope, that's not what that is.
No.
No, those are
Shoot.
two separate things.
Shoot.
No.
Shoot. Air horns.
Aerosol, air horn, aerosol, air horn, aerosol.
It's like when I talk about my earphones and head covers, those things that are jammed into my ears. Listen, I'm very excited for the show tonight.
Me too.
Yeah, I am super, super excited. We have a fantastic guest, and we have seen her at a couple of different conferences at this point, right?
Yes, we have.
I think so. She makes a lot of cool gear. Very interested in that, and has some really awesome commentary and things. That's my that's my clock that sounds like birds.
Oh boy.
We knew I was going to mess this up somehow. Anyway.
Hey, I think that I can speak for you and myself when I say I learned a lot about our guest just today doing a little bit of research. So much to learn about her that I had no idea.
I know.
Go ahead, Jeni.
I know. We knew she was wickedly smart and fun and funny and nice and all of these things. But diving into it was pretty good. So our guest tonight is Lauren Hellekson.
Oh, am I bringing her on now?
No,
switching it up.
No, I know I am switching it up. I gotta tell you a little bit about her. I was just really nervous about the last name because usually I ask to pronounce things ahead of time, and I didn't this time.
I wasn't paying attention.
Oh no! We do it all over again.
Hellekson. No, just go ahead. Go with the bio.
Hellekson.
There you go. All right. This is a good time.
Yeah, it is. Listen, Lauren has been investigating the paranormal for over 15 years in a technical equipment-focused way. Her work with equipment development and engineering stems from a young age, from dismantling old IBM computers with her dad to rebuilding the carburetor in her first motorcycle. Of course she rides a motorcycle.
Of course she does.
She's the coolest ever.
Yep.
All right. To improving the equipment we use in the paranormal field and developing new and exploratory methods of spirit communication. She's always observing and creating in a mechanical capacity. We're just talking about my inability to pronounce things.
Mechanical. It's
like mechanical.
At the crash.
So she started touring the paranormal convention circuit, selling her proximity sensors, the Crystal Pod. You can find her equipment all over the U.S., Canada, and Australia. She's been exploring various methods of spiritual practice all over the world, including India, Israel, and Ireland, and has held educational workshops on witchcraft, meditation, and metaphysical exploration over the past 6 years. She is also a published author. Her debut title, Dark Moonlight, Discovering Your World with Magic, Mysticism, and the Paranormal, was released in March of 2023. She currently is an educator and content creator with Lauren Hans, an interactive, educational, and fun platform for paranormal enthusiasts and investigators to learn more about objective investigating equipment, understanding through live builds, new techniques through live hunts, hosted on TikTok and YouTube. And will you please help me welcome Lauren?
Okay. Oh, wait, I should let her in on the stage, too.
Probably.
Yay!
Yay! How'd you like my air guns earlier?
It was so good. It was so good.
And you got air horns, but
you got Hellekson the second time.
Right.
I don't know if you saw me back there. You said Hellekson, and I was like, man, it's a normal one. And then you were like Hellekson, and I was like,
Hellekson. Okay, thank you. See, I usually ask like right beforehand, but we were so busy talking about other things that I didn't ask.
Like what?
That's okay. That's a
Like
good thing.
my inability to pronounce things.
Pronounce. What's a word that I never pronounce correctly?
Is
I
it
know
your
there's
last name?
my own last name.
I have trouble with mine.
That's a gimme on many points.
I know.
Like, what are you doing, Jeni?
I don't know.
Monroe?
Moore. Jeni Moore. I don't know.
Just
Jessica.
mispronounce it so nobody can find you. It's
Yeah,
easy.
exactly. I'm living under the radar.
It's all a part
We
of
know
the plan.
this. Exactly. I couldn't ever say bounty. I read Mutiny on the Bounty like long, like a while ago. And every single time, for some reason, I would only say Mutiny on the Bounty. And I couldn't say it. I could not figure it out. Couldn't crack the code on that one for years. And it still happens.
I'm only saying this because my husband is watching right now, but I do make fun of him. Instead of lentils, he always says lentils.
See, sometimes you
just add in letters. Just overachievers with your extra letters and things.
See, it's better when I get real excited about something and I try to say a sentence and it just comes out as 3 words and none of them make sense.
Oh, I like to just I've got like a full sentence to say and I'm really excited to say it. So I'm going to say a bunch of sounds that are almost words, but not quite. And everyone's going to look at me weird and I'm going to feel bad. So enjoy
You're with
this
the wrong
podcast,
people, then.
everyone.
You can tell she's serious when she
welcome.
rips off her glasses. Welcome to the show. Very, very excited to talk. So one of the things that we were looking at, well, I was looking at and then immediately sent to Tressa as well, was the chamber experiment that you have.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
That's also such good timing, too, because I just released tickets for like my first control study of that experiment that's going on. Okay, so there is a location in Madison, Ohio called Madison Seminary. It's owned by Adam Kimmel and his partner, Rebecca Kirschbaum, who you guys would love if you've never met her. Like, love, love, love.
That's my
right up our alley.
Name.
Super weird. Just she's amazing.
Love
so she's a really good friend of mine. They both are a really good friend of mine. And I've been wanting to do some sort of experiment like at a haunted location that kind of explores the connection that our mental wellness or mental state or meditation state or like sense of self or sense of groundedness might have with how we experience, or if there's a correlation between experiencing supernatural phenomena, or if that will increase our experiences with like supernatural phenomena. So there's all of these questions that I had with how those things relate to each other, which is at the end of the day, like our sort of sense of self and our connection with ourself and how we connect with the unknown. So I really wanted to do an experiment somewhere, but it's so hard because we hear about people wanting to do experiments all the time. Oh, we did this great experiment at this location, great experiment. But if you look at how you need to format an actual experiment in correlation with something like the scientific method, where it can become a piece of like documentable, publishable, journal article worthy data, you have to have all of these variables in place. You have to have observations, you have to have a hypothesis, you have to have a lot of work that goes into it. And with that, you have to have control factors like a location where you can constantly be studying and observing. And it's hard to have access to that because obviously haunted locations, like you need to pay to be there. You can, sure, you might be able to rent it out, but it's incredibly expensive. So the accessibility was just difficult. And there are 3 locations that I was able to frequent often: the Ohio State Reformatory, I'm a part of the resident team there, Tri-C Ghost Hunters, the Madison Seminary, being friends with Kimmel and Rebecca, and I'm always at all their events and their cons and things like that. And then Hillview Manor in Newcastle. Again, great team over there. I'm there all the time too. So these places, at least, that I was there all the time. So I'm like, well, maybe I can start to work something into this. And while I'm trying to sort of figure out how I want to frame this, Rebecca calls me and she's like, I want to have a meeting with you. I just want to discuss some things. We have some ideas. This big event's coming up. I want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay, cool, great. And I go there and she's like, I want you to like install something here that's just like here. We don't know what it is yet. And I was like, oh my God, I know what it is. And we like go upstairs and she just opens this broom closet. And I'm like, it's the chamber. It's like, and it was just immediate.
Oh, I
And
love it.
it was so, and I love having moments like that with people because it's so hard to not be like, get like goosebumps every time that happens. And so she just gives me this room and she's like, it could just like be here forever. They have a couple different installments there. And she's like, I want it to be like an art installment or something spiritual. And I was like, I have an experiment that I've been wanting to do, but I need like 2 years to do it. And she was like, it could just be here forever. And I was like, I need forever to do it.
Sold.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And so I got to work and I put together this like kind of like cushy, there's like fabric just like draped everywhere. And I built this bench that's kind of, padded just enough that it's like a leaning bench, but
Yeah.
it's not, although people have fallen asleep in there. But so it's just cozy enough that you feel safe. And there's some like thick curtains over the door. So it's pitch black in there. I made this really cool like occupied sign, and it's a fully automated program that when you walk in, it is a motion sensor and the program starts right when you walk in. You get freaked out because you hear my voice going, welcome, explorer, in like my meditation voice. And, and people are like, oh God, like, is that really you? And I'm like, that's me, really me. And so it's this program, and then there's a QR code that you can scan and you can give me your feedback. And I've been getting, feedback here and there. And, it's great as just a sort of a social installation. A lot of people utilize it. I'm not getting as much feedback as I wanted. And I knew um, that I wanted to have some control experiments with it. So essentially it's a 15-minute program that runs in this converted broom closet, and it's taking a few different ideas throughout the time that it's going to be there. Like right now, I'm just testing um, a the sound of the universe, like a certain note that is said to be the note or the sound of like the ethos. And so right now there is a chord of that noise just kind of humming through for 15 minutes.
Okay.
And the idea is you go up on this third floor, which is supposed to be one of the more active areas in the building. You walk around that floor, you just take it in as it is, see if you notice how you feel, touch, sensation, smell, sight, all of the things. You go and you do the chamber. And then when you come out, again, you walk around the same floor and you see if anything has changed. You see if your sensations are heightened. You see if, maybe you hear something this time or you feel something. And then the questionnaire goes through all of these different things that don't seem like they're as significant, but together as a full data set, it becomes very interesting if I start to see a pattern happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I had planned to change out the program every few months, but I'm not getting as much feedback as I would like. So I have an event coming up in April, and I'm going to be switching the program over then. But it's a really cool way for not only me to kind of study this relationship just on a casual basis with people using the chamber at Madison, but then it's also a really cool way for them to sort of have something to do at a haunted location if they're not sure, like if they're new, if they're more inexperienced, or if they're just interested in diving a little bit deeper into maybe the more like spiritual aspects of supernatural exploration.
I love this very much. Very fun, very calculated. I love it very much. Um, so Listen. Um, so this is like a one-person room. This is the broom closet. Like you're in there for 15 minutes by yourself. That's it. Enjoy your time alone. Enjoy your quiet time. The kids are at soccer. Who knows? But you're just like experiencing this. Is it like a meditative state? Are you trying to get someone to get to like a level where the mind quiets? Or is it just like, hey, experience this weird sound and then go check out some stuff?
So, just kicking things. So it's very intentional, the sounds that are in there and the period of time. So I'm taking some aspects of like sound resonance meditation, where you're listening to this sort of constant tone that is, you know, a certain hertz that's supposed to target different things in your mind to relax, to open up. And then I'm also adding in some aspects of different modalities of meditation. So there's a little bit of shamanic drumming that's in the background, and cadence meditation is supposed to be something that really helps you get into that state that this is completely like speculative and there's real no actual data to support this. But the idea behind shamanic like journey meditation is that the rhythmic drumming is supposed to allow you to release like a little bit of DMT into your brain and get you into this sort of dreamy state. And so then mixed with that, and then the average amount of time that you, especially as a beginner, that you should really stick to meditating is like anywhere from like 5 to 15 minutes. So the entire program, including the intro, is about 17. 15 of that very specifically is that mixture between the sound resonance and the shamanic drumming and just this very like relaxing, it's like a whoo, and there's like boom, 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 boom. So it is meant to get you into a more relaxed state and give your brain something to do so that you're not getting like anxious or bored. And my husband was probably one of the first people that did it. I made him go in there because when I was building it, we were there all by ourselves. So I made him go. He's always my like guinea pig because he'll go to like at Waverly Hills, the big body shoot. He'll like go down to the bottom by himself, and he's just like, "Oh, there was a spider down there," and he's like, oh, "Okay." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" There's been one time that he's been freaked out, and it was at like a place that I just like I'm not freaked out by, and he was there, and he was like, "I don't know, something came at me in the attic." And it's so out of character for him to say something like that. So usually if he's freaked out, I trust his judgment, but like nothing freaks him out ever. So I made him go in there by himself, and he did the chamber. And when he was done, he came out and he was like, yeah, it was relaxing, all this other stuff, da da da. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, do you feel like you lost time or anything like that? And he's like, no, not really. It was just relaxing. And I was like, did it feel like it was 15 minutes? And he was like, no, it felt like it was like 2 minutes. And I'm like, that's losing time, babe.
Sir.
And he's like, oh. And I'm like, were you sleeping? He's like, no. He was like, I just zoned out and then it was over. And I'm like, that's losing time. Angel, which is one of the questions. You know, did you feel like you lost time? Because there are a lot of personal theories. And when I say personal theories, this is usually when I do this. Put on my tinfoil hat.
Yeah, wise choice. Let's go.
Because there's like, it's hard when I'm talking about science and then I'm mixing it a little bit in this because science theory is very different from the theory that I'm about to talk about. So there's a lot of personal theories in the paranormal that if you have that sort of like zone out loss of time experience, it's because either, you know, maybe you were taken over by something, maybe you experienced a time slip, maybe like all of these different sort of paranormal ideas behind losing time when you're doing something like within supernatural exploration. So it's one of the questions that's on the questionnaire after the chamber is, were there any phantom smells, sounds? Did you see anything visually? Did you experience anything emotionally? Did you feel like you had a lapse in time? And all of these different things that if you accumulate them together and you see this sort of pattern, it allows me to either change up the program a little bit to try to see if I can tweak. The end result of this is not just the correlation data that I want, but I want to have some sort of track that I could just throw on Spotify for free. And if you're going to a haunted location, pull up that ghost track. We can all tune in. What a great way to start out your investigation. Everybody tunes in so that, you know, we can all kind of be our own little compass of spooky.
That's an amazing idea.
That's like my end result with it.
I love that so much. Like, it works so well in so many other contexts, right? Like, you think about like groups that chant mantras or you know, prayer or anything like that. Immediately you feel more connected to the people in the groups. How cool would that be to then continue on, you know,
and
into the investigation?
There's like no commitment to having, you know, to have any sort of spiritual commitment or deity or witchcraft or anything like that, because meditation's so universal. And I think that there is this rift in the community where some people feel spiritually lost and they're like, I'm not spiritual, or I'm like agnostic, or I'm an atheist. Like, I don't have that spiritual part. I don't believe in witchcraft. I don't do, you know, but meditation is universal. Meditation is used in science. It's used in the health and wellness industry, in medicine, in all of these different things. So it's just this sort of unifier. If people are interested in the supernatural, they can use this to tap in a way that doesn't require you to, you know, go against any of your personal
scientifically
ideals.
right. You don't have to be spiritual. It's science, you idiots.
Well, and you know, like they are looking
like science adjacent.
Yeah, they are looking at like how these things affect like our nervous system. So it is, I mean, it very much goes hand in hand with science. We're looking at
Jeni,
what?
You know what affects my nervous system?
For those of you naysayers, I want you to know how much I appreciate how many of you grabbed a hold of my small package after last week's show. It is out and available. You can get both of my books, The Other Side, A Guide to the Paranormal and Ghost Hunting, and my brand new book, Theater of the Mind, Tales from the Darkness. Both books are out. One, of course, kind of a how-to ghost hunt book, and the other story book of strange supernatural occurrences all around the world. You can get your hand on my small package by just ordering it right off of my website. You can go right to paranormal60.com, scroll down on the front page there, or go to the shop and scroll down and you'll see our book bundle. And I was so humbled by the fact of how many men put their hands on my small package at the end of last week's show and bought it. It was great. It made me feel loved and wanted. I'm not going to lie.
That's what you forgot to mention when we were talking before the show. How great the segues were.
That was seamless.
Thank you.
That is. We have actually won awards.
Yes. I made the awards and I came up with the idea for the awards, but we
presented them to each other, but you know,
wow.
Mostly
still
just myself, but yeah.
I know. We'll present you with
Speechless.
one. We will.
Know, they're great.
I know.
That was exceptional. That was exceptional. I will say.
Just wait, because you will see why we awarded ourselves in advertising and media later. So just so you know.
As you
should. But as I was saying, yeah, like all of this is amazing, and I cannot wait to hear and see about it and maybe experience it myself, because it's just so cool.
Yeah, we should definitely take a trip out.
Yeah. Like it's unbelievable like how much of this stuff just ties into what we do with the nervous system and the various ways that we seek out anything, right? Like as human beings, we kind of seek out something. I think faith and belief and spirituality all kind of come into that too.
We are curious creatures.
We are curious creatures.
We don't like being told no.
Yeah, we have this like innate sort of drive towards faith and belief, right? Because we're social creatures. So at the very least, you have this faith and belief in people that you bring around you. right? So when you have this and the spiritual side, um, what gets your inspiration, and like how do you manage to merge that scientific process with it?
What gets me going?
Yeah, what
Always
gets you
good.
going scientifically? Tell me about it.
Let's hear it.
This might be this might be not as deep as you're expecting. I am rather severely ADHD with
Ah,
a little spectrum tendencies.
a little
Hello.
sprinkling of this. Oh, look at
My
that.
my tism requires me to exhaustingly organize things to a point that it regulates my sympathetic nervous system, so I don't have meltdowns.
Okay.
I'm the opposite. Go ahead.
But well, it's funny. I was talking to my sister today, and she had a while ago, she'd gotten so mad at me because I would post these like polls, or today I was like, had some just more emotionally fueled things happening. So I end up posting this very like, we're going to do a deep analytical observation based feedback post, everybody, and there's going to be rules, and it's going to be all objective observation, and let's all practice our critical thinking. And my sister's like, why do you do things like that? And I'm
Oh,
like,
for the
I
delight of everyone. They're
well,
so
I'm
much
like,
fun.
I don't know. I feel like maybe people learn from it. And she was like, do you just like seeing what people are going to do? And I was like, is that like bad? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like,
Why?
I
Is
don't,
it though?
well, I figured it out because she
Oh.
thought I'm like, that she thought I was like, oh, you're manipulating people. You're trying to make people look bad. And I was like, no, actually, I'm trying to organize like my own brain by bringing people into this fold in a very organized way, and it helps me to regulate like what I'm thinking in order to like overanalyze how other people think too, and learn about how other people think. And I'm really really interested in that, and she never understood why. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, now that I'm finally going to like a psychiatrist, I'm learning all sorts of things about myself, actually. Fun facts. But
Fun facts. Yeah, I get it.
and when I apply that to what I'm doing in the paranormal, it is this sort of like landscape of unknown and disorganization. There are millions of personal theories out there. There's millions of different ideas of what ghosts are. There's millions of different ideas of where they come from, what they are, if they're people, if they're not, if they're dead, if they're like, so there's no organization. And I find that that is when I entered the paranormal, it was so overwhelming that I wanted to start to compartmentalize it. So I started to apply the things that I always really loved to do, which was take things apart and learn how to put them back together again. And so I started deconstructing these ideas, and when different things would spark to me, or when I'm like, ooh, like that makes my brain feel good, I'm going to put that in the good pile. And I started to put together this pile of the good things that I was really, really interested in. And I was like, all right, these are the things that I want to digest now. And that became my focus in the paranormal, which was like logical fallacies and formulating variable based experiments in order to create like more objective data, like more data that's compelling and not based on trusting the person that's giving it to you. And teaching people how their equipment works, because there's so much equipment and there's so much loose understanding, but it's always ghost talk when people explain how their equipment works. And there was
Oh yeah.
never like mechanical talk. And it's like, we can't provide data if the data is based on fictitious language. And man, I have control issues.
No, you know what? I totally understand that because I walked into this having very little, my thing has always been like high strangeness and cryptids and all of those things, very little about ghosts. And people, God bless all of them. will talk about like the equipment that they're using to ghost hunt, and I don't know. But how does it work? How is it like? Is it sound waves that are being like? How
Jeni, it's
does it work?
energy. It's energy.
Okay. But like I want to know like how it works so that you can show me, okay, but what does that mean? Right? Like what am I looking for here?
I had mentioned earlier before we came on that I am wildly offensive. We're going to start breaching that territory now.
Air horn, air horn, air
All right.
horn.
Air horn, air horn, air horn. We are getting there. All right, everybody, if you're easily offended.
It has been, I could probably count on one hand, maybe two hands, the amount of times, and mind you, I clearly have a lot of conversations about equipment, but I could probably count on one, less than two hands, how many times I've actually had a conversation with someone who knew how all of their equipment actually worked. And I'm talking about the equipment that they use, that they present evidence with.
Yeah.
I don't often find the comprehension for the equipment. And that's not an insult. That's the thing. A lot of people take that as an insult. And I'm like, that's not an insult though. It's an issue that it's normalized that we use this fictitious language in order to explain this equipment, that if you're not in the paranormal, you're like, what do you mean ghosts know how to use it? So the evidence is based on, one, me believing in what you think ghosts are, and two, me believing that what you think ghosts are interact with that device, and that makes no sense. So if you can't explain it in non-paranormal language, and also non-paranormal, non-elitist language, because there's a lot of advanced algorithm language that goes around as well too. And that's also problematic. So as long as you're not speaking above comprehension, like average comprehension level, and you're able to talk about this equipment in a way that's digestible and understandable and it makes sense, then you are delivering data that's entertaining. It's entertaining rhetoric in a field that doesn't exist.
It's so interesting to me because that's how I would approach it, and that's how I would understand some of the things that people tell me, because I don't. And it's
And
horrible
it's
because I just
possible.
don't understand it, right?
Yeah.
It's like I can use Photoshop kinda, but I can never explain it to you because I don't really know how all of it works, right? And be like, you move the little bobber and then that thing that makes the colors is going to happen, so.
There's a lasso too.
Yeah, and then there's a lasso.
There is a lasso.
You do lasso stuff with it, but
There's a
I
stamp
can't.
button too.
Yeah, but I might be able to tell somebody how to use it if I were able to explain it. That's it.
Honestly, lasso, stamp tool, paintbrushy thing is more advanced than a lot of the descriptions of equipment that
Well,
heard
I'm
in my
taking
day.
that as technical language, and I'm putting that on my resume right now.
And you know what, though? That's the thing, is that if it could be explained in a digestible way like that, because it's either the ghosts know what to do, or it's an advanced algorithm using multiple types of heebie-jeebies and la la la.
Mhm.
And it's just kind of like, okay, and a lot of those explanations are not the fault of the paranormal community. A lot of that is capitalism. A lot of it is making something sound really, really fancy and really technologically advanced so that people buy it and they spend money on it. Which is unfortunate in a field that doesn't have a lot of regulation, because, I mean, anybody can be an equipment builder, honestly. I teach equipment building workshops so that people get interested in learning how things work. People have now started just like sending me their old equipment that they don't want anymore so I could take it apart for them and tell them like what it's doing on the inside, or like being like, maybe this wasn't actually worth $400. I've had people send me like EM pumps and like, what's really happening on the inside? And I'm like, ooh, you shouldn't have spent the money that you spent on this, like, because this is what it is in there. And they're like, oh, cool, good to know. And I'm like, I'm so sorry.
Wait, hold on.
Just buy a box fan.
Oh, I don't think I've even ever heard the word EM pump. What is an EM?
Oh, girl.
No,
There's so much. There's so much predatory language in the paranormal, which is a problem. But it's also normalized to not really, to just kind of trust that your equipment's doing what it's doing, and then that's it. But there's so much conversation around wanting to know how things work, wanting to know how to have more objective research, so people start taking the things that you're capturing seriously. Like
Absolutely.
the want is there. It's all there.
Sure.
It's just kind of turning the tide and normalizing it.
I think that my my uncomfortableness with this is that I fully agree with you with 98% of the equipment out there. The stick figure guys,
I do like when they dance.
It is fun.
It's good.
I don't just for auditory issues. I don't like the spirit boxes that are just radio signals going forever, and it's just too much for me to handle. I don't like that.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is too much for me.
Both of those pieces of equipment, though, have interesting theories behind them, and I do think that there are more productive ways to use both of those pieces.
Sure.
I don't personally, but
and listen, this is coming from someone who's been on so few investigations, and it's just, to me, appears to be like, well, I'm pulling this out of my backpack. I don't really know what's going on. I bought it for a whole lot of money, so it's got to work. It's fine. If you want to put that there, do your thing. I support you. But there are specific EVPs and EVP methods that I will lay down my life for. I will always, like, even when it's nothing, it still feels to me like there's some sort of energy trying to get through, and it doesn't know how, and it's just trying to do something to get heard. That's about it. The EVPs like that, and that actually say words or whatever, because I've heard some crazy ones that specifically answer questions. I will put my butt on the line for those.
I was going to say, please don't put your life on the line for those.
No, I mean,
just
I
her butt.
will, because
it's fine.
I don't care. But because listen, I want to be a ghost too. But it's fine. You know, it's just
we don't know if ghosts are dead people, though.
I know this. Ghosts could be so many things. Here's the thing. The other thing with ghosts is, like, they could be simultaneously, like, every single thing that people think is a ghost could be multiple things. It's never just one thing, ever. Even with aliens, even with some cryptids, it could be so many things. It's never just one thing.
I don't think I've ever heard you say that before.
Oh, really? That's weird, because I say it like every show.
Yeah, it's weird that you whisper it sometimes, just randomly to me over the phone. It could be so many different things.
Yeah, I call her to say it when I hang out.
We don't even know what it is. Never just one thing. It's aliens.
It's definitely aliens, but I don't know how.
It's always aliens.
Oh, you have heard the recordings then. Okay.
We're also aliens.
See, you get it. So listen, I just wanted to put that out there because it did make me uncomfortable, but then I realized, oh yeah, you're totally right. I totally agree with you. It's fine.
Now.
Oh wait, you know what?
Now?
Actually,
Then,
you know what?
Wait,
hang on. What?
How about instead of right now, how about in 1 minute?
Ooh.
Oh, hey, Tressa. Jeni? Oh, I'm just reading my book by international TV sensation, Dave Schrader. I'm reading the book, too. I don't remember the name of it or who wrote it, but yeah. There, I like your shirt. You? I got it on monstersloungepodcast.com. You've got a great shirt, too. Oh, then? That's so weird. I got it at monstersloungepodcast.com too. They have really great stuff. A full variety. I know, right? They have everything. Shirts. Tote bags. Clutches. A phone case, I think. It's the best.
Award-winning.
Award-winning.
Was that a voiceover?
Yeah, it was AI because the sound was really bad.
Listen, we have
That
a lot more of
almost
those.
added to it the fact
Yeah.
that it almost looked like one of those. It was like subtitled. You guys were speaking a different language, and it was dubbed over in English almost.
Yeah.
You were
Listen, I'm an
speaking.
artist.
There's a reason why we gave ourselves so many awards for that commercial.
So many. My shelves
Straight
are
up
stocked.
genius. Yeah, they really are. They're all made out of tinfoil.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
I thought that I just liked you guys.
Now you know you love us.
So much.
It's the breathing into the mic that gets me.
I want to break out in song.
Listen, we're going to have to turn the
Listen.
cameras off soon and enjoy the rest of this conversation together alone.
While whispering.
Topless. Just kidding. Just kidding.
ASMR. What? I don't. Where are we going? What's happening?
It's winter. We're all wearing layers. It's just a joke.
So, you know, I
Back on
love.
track.
Yeah, I'm really, really pulling.
You
So,
just said no
so
curse
I
words.
love this, you know, concept of sort of the science of spiritual behavior and spiritual thoughts and how that can impact like the world around us. And not only do we know it changes our insides and our brains and all of those things. I had a thought. You were talking about something on something I was listening to, which is very descriptive. But you were talking about growing up in particular religions, and I was wondering if religion had any play on what you became so interested in the paranormal capacity. Like if you had heard a lot about, you know, like the Holy Spirit or something, maybe spirits or whatever.
Emotional damage. So we did not grow up in a religious household at all. And so there was a lot of freedom to sort of like figure out what you wanted to do, but not a lot of guidance to it. So it was kind of like, great, freedom to figure things out, but like nobody was interested in sort of discussing it with us, if that makes sense, in the family.
For sure.
So I probably starting at like 16 was when I started to be interested in spirituality, and being from just like a small town in Northeast Ohio, you know, it's kind of like you can go to the Catholic Church, or you could go to the non-denominational church, or there's a Baptist church, or it's all just sort of you're surrounded by Christianity and God. So obviously, with a lot of people, aside from, you know, when you're like in your early teens and everybody has the I'm Wiccan stage. So of course there was that. The people that actually bought
yes.
my childhood home ripped up the carpet in my bedroom. And thankfully I was friends with them, because I got a text message that said, I believe that we're pulling up the carpet in your room because there's a humongous pentagram drawn on the floor.
You're like, actually, it's a pentacle.
And I'm like, that's so weird. How did that get there? Don't tell my mom. So,
also, we keep digging up all these jars of random spices. I believe this
And
one's
hair.
regular.
you know, I was like 12, so it was just like rocks, which is funny because my dad saved like my rock collection. And
bless.
I have my rock collection from when I was like an adolescent.
Adorable.
He used to take me to auction houses, and I got this humongous like shell from an auction, And I just filled it with like all these different crazy rocks, and he would take me to gem shows. And I was like, now I'm like, you were fueling my witchcraft, just so you know. So he
This
has a
is
copy
on
of my book
you.
and everything. I'm like, thanks, Dad. And he also fueled me wanting to take things apart too. So there was all of that. But so, you know, as one does, you go from
So he was
witchcraft to
autistic
just
too?
Christianity, because that makes sense. And I ended up, because I had no adult guidance, essentially in a cult from
Oh,
17 to about 22.
Listen, I almost was there. I was
Yeah.
this close, and my parents were like, "Absolutely not. That is a
Nope,
cult." And I
there
said,
was no absolutely
"No,
not
they
there.
love. Hey,
all right.
who
Now, I
they
will
love."
say,
Yeah,
it did end up being like, I'm talking like, I don't know, there was some shady things happening with like the preacher's son and about half the female congregation.
you already said it was a cult. You don't need to.
Yeah.
emphasize.
I
And
think we just assumed.
I was still so innocent that I was like, what? Nuh-uh. He's my friend. And they're like, no, he's not. And I'm like, what? And nothing had happened with me. And it's funny too. One of my friends that I am still in contact with that was also there as well too. We'll talk about it. And I mean, she has some horror stories because she was much older. She's not much older. Sorry, Audrey. She's not much older than I am, but she was
Don't worry,
older
it's
than
not
I
like you
was.
used her name.
Whoops.
She also illustrated my book. We're very good friends. We escaped the cult. And she's a wonderful human being. But yeah, we discovered all of these things that were happening, and we were just like, how did we not see this? It was crazy, just like lies and deceit and all of this crazy stuff. And it was very like misogynistic. It was very kind of like, women belong in this area. The women's Bible studies it was very much almost like a grooming church, really, to be honest, because you would start
already
seeing,
said it was a church. You don't
I
need
know,
to say the grooming part.
people in the
We already
congregation would be
heard
like
both.
paired up together because the pastor like paired them up, and it was just really crazy. So got out of that, thankfully. And I was like, wow, yikes. And from probably like, yeah, my 20s into my late 20s, it was just figuring out all sorts of different things. Went back into dabbling with like spirituality and witchcraft, and had gotten into yoga as like a workout modality. And then I ended up meeting some people that were just like, there's this whole other side of yoga that you have no idea about, you know, white person. And I'm like, what?
Seriously.
And they were like, yeah.
What?
Yeah, there's this whole other world, and I am so fascinated because I'm so newly into it.
And at that point, I'm so desperate to just find something that I could cling on to or believe in, or, you know, nothing seemed to resonate with me. And there was just a lot of reasons why I felt lost at that age and just figuring out who I was. I had become, you know, a caretaker for my mom, and I was just looking for ways to figure out who I was. I had been a caretaker for my mom for quite a long time, from my adolescence into adulthood. I had a small bit of a reprieve, and during that reprieve, I like traveled the world. I maxed out every credit card I owned, drained all of my bank accounts, and just
Lived life.
went. And I studied, and I got my certification to teach yoga in Rishikesh, India, which surprisingly was cheaper than doing it in the United States. Believe it or not.
That's very believable.
And I got to do it in the place where like yoga started.
Right.
And wild. And met all of these people from places that like weren't my hometown, because that's like all I knew. And realized that there's so much more to the world than these kind of small echo chambers that we create for ourselves. We really think that if we've traveled to 8 or 9 different states, we're so, you know, y'all.
There's a whole big world.
It is, and it's big.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's so big, and we're so little, and we are so insignificant.
Mhm.
And
All right, before we roll down into existential dread.
I know, right? Gosh, get me
We're
started on the
so
topic and I won't
tiny.
stop. But so yeah, so I mean, long story short, I did a lot of that, and here I am.
Yeah.
All right.
I thoroughly done. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to some of the things and learning about you. You know, in a way, I don't know. I don't think you often get to meet people, like them very much, enjoy them very much, and then listen to a lot of what they have to say, and then get to know them on a different avenue, right? But you had one thing on a podcast that I was listening to, that you were talking about this particular season. And one of the things that I love about you so much is the belief in magic, right? And I mean, not just like magic where you're, drawing symbols on the floor, but just that the world is pieced together
Like,
by magic,
yes.
like everything. And can you talk a little bit about the magic of this season, the stillness, and what it means?
So the whole idea behind that is we're constantly in a cycle of existence. So if we think about even just our lives as humans, or anything that we start that has an end to it, which is pretty much everything, you have a birth or a beginning, you have this like sustaining, life period, and then you have death. And we don't think about this time that happens after something ends, that there is almost like, sometimes it's mourning, sometimes it's just stillness, sometimes it's germination, sometimes it's just something that needs to settle before something else can come of it. We always have to have, at least in healthy cycles, we have to have that period of stillness for everything to settle down, for the dust to settle, so that we can begin anew. And in springtime, obviously, is our birth. Summer is, that life phase. Fall is death. Everything's starting to die around us. And wintertime is stillness. And I always find it so odd that we celebrate the new year and we have all this new year, new you, when statistically speaking, constantly, it's like it's like a joke now that New Year's resolutions never last. Like, make your resolution last this year. It literally doesn't last, because we're trying to start something in the middle of a period where we are supposed to still be allowing things to settle, and allowing things to be calm, and allowing things to be still. Because if you start something, and I urge people to try this, if you start something in springtime, and this is not just spiritually, like statistically speaking, human speaking, animal speaking, start a new habit in springtime and see how much longer you're going to stick with it, rather than trying to start something January 1st. Because
Listen, I think we need to do some sort of crowdfunding where we make New Year's resolutions happen in the springtime instead of
Dude.
January 1st, because
Yeah.
those are some BS
Agreed.
things going on January 1st.
the
Just stop
spring
it.
equinox, that is my new year. I will tell people all the time, like, happy change of the calendar, happy change of the year. This is
Mhm.
great. Just remember, you're still supposed to be still. Make your resolutions for the
That's
spring
hard,
equinox.
though, to tell people to just be still. That's hard, because
It's contrary to our nature, right?
well, not really,
But
but
it's
it's
not.
contrary to
Yeah.
society and our capitalist
Contrary to
society. And they're
yes.
like, listen, move. You need to keep
Yep.
going and keep doing, because right now, if you're still, you're a
Mm.
piece of crap. You need to
And
keep.
really, to counteract that, just do all your moving in sweatpants.
Thank you.
That's a good one. I like that. I like
There
that a
you
lot.
go.
like it a lot.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I don't know that I want to do this right now, but we are at the end of the show.
I definitely don't want to do that. Let's ignore it.
Okay.
What end?
I don't know.
There is no end. We can just rest in this moment right here.
Just right.
All right, everybody be quiet then.
We're just real quiet. Oh, I
Did
guess
you
we
have
could-
another question, or should we wrap it up, Jeni?
No, that was kind of it. Just will you come back
I
on the
do
show?
talk a lot about this stuff, though, in Dark Moonlight.
Mhm.
Oh.
I just ordered a copy. I'm very excited for it to arrive.
I wish you would have told me. I would have just sent you one.
Nope.
No,
And I would've
she
signed
doesn't
it.
do that.
No, I would have. Well, you're going to have to sign it because
She's
I'm going to
like,
bring
no,
it
I
with
don't want
me
that
to
ink
wherever.
on my book. What do you? No.
No, but I will buy it because I have a job and I like to support people.
I
thank
do
you.
not have the first part. I do like the second part, though.
You got
Hey,
this.
why don't you tell us about all of your links and whatever so people can find you and learn more about you?
Hey,
Lauren.
guess
the
what?
whatever.
Guess what, friends at home? You want to know how easy it is to find me? You just
How
type
easy?
this into your search bar, Lauren
Stop
Hauntz,
it.
and I come up. And also,
then
I'd
what
like to
happened?
note that if you ever hear the phrase, how do you know it works if you don't know how it works? That's by me. And guess what? I'm not going to curse right now, even though I really want to. But that phrase, that's about to be a registered trademark with the government.
Air horn, air
What?
horn, air horn.
So many air horns.
horns.
No air guns, though. Just air horns.
Oh boy,
Y'all.
Lauren, what a pleasure, and I can't wait to have you back because
Mhm.
you have to. And
Yes, please.
Yes.
We'll
And
thank
then
you.
throw a
let's
party.
all make sure that we get on a half an hour early.
Yep.
Obviously.
Clearly.
You know what? We'll live stream our banal conversation. It'll be great.
Mhm.
Everybody else!
Whew.
Don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and the Paranormal 60 Network. Like, comment, subscribe, and check out our merch on our website, monstersloungepodcast.com. Send us an email or a comment. We love hearing from people. So until next time, thanks for visiting the Monsters Lounge.